What is up, everyone? I think that's something different than what I usually say to start these episodes. I don't know. We're back from playing Funky Films last week. Congratulations again to Declan, our winner. He's going to host an episode in a couple weeks, on top of another episode that he's going to be hosting at some point later this month.
Mhm.
So you guys are going to be hearing a lot of Declan at the start and end of episodes. Get
Yeah.
used to that. In the meantime, you can tell by Ben's last name that I assigned him. We're talking about just just an awesome movie that I think, you know, we all, based on what I've heard from each of you, liked to loved it. And right before we started recording, Max said that it might be his favorite movie of all time. Obviously, we know that's not true. He's already hosted an episode about Field of Dreams.
But you can't
But hey,
change.
But he hadn't seen this one first.
That's true. I had not seen this one.
if he ever wins Funky Films again, maybe we'll do a second episode on John Wick Chapter 4. Max, I'm going to you first.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much. I mean, like, I can say a lot of things, but I'll just start it off really easy and saying this movie was fucking awesome. Like, this was everything that I hoped that it would be. It was a perfect culmination of all four films, or well, it was the fourth film in a series, but I loved it. Like I went in with high expectations. I don't think it surpassed them. It just met them perfectly. This film was full of everything that I would have wanted. High kill count, Keanu Reeves being a goddamn badass, a great supporting cast, but underneath it all, there was an actual story, right? There was a continuation of the first three films, which I think is helped by the fact that there isn't, a 4-year time jump in between film one and film four. It's over the span of, I don't know, 2 weeks at most. And so it really helps with the continuity, and it keeps things tight. It keeps things tight is the wrong word. This was a 2 hour and 50-minute movie. But every minute of it was action packed. Keanu Reeves said like 238 words, something like that. I think we talked about that earlier. It didn't need more than that. It awesome. Go see this film immediately. We can end the episode there. That's it.
That sums up how I feel. Declan, Ben, what do you guys think?
Well, I have such a weird relationship with the John Wick series where
Ben should have gone first.
when I watched the first film a couple years ago in college, I was like, it just didn't do it for me. And I watched the second film, and I remember feeling it just didn't do it for me either. But then, we're doing this one, and I was like, okay, you know what? I should go and rewatch the series.
Yeah,
And
how does
so
it feel to be wrong, Declan?
And so I rewatched the first film, and I was like, dang it. This film still does not do it for me. I won't go into it necessarily, but then the weird thing was I rewatched the second film, and I was like, oh shit, this actually entirely improves on the first film. And then I watched the third film and felt it maintained the positives of the second film. And then this fourth film, I feel like the set pieces in it make it so that it might be the best one. I'm not going to say that with confidence, kind of, want to let each of them cook, to use the common parlance, but this one is definitely a great one. It did not go back to the mistakes of the first film, in my opinion.
Mistakes.
I totally accept that John Wick 1 is just the film that I don't like that everyone else likes. I'm not. I won't defend the I have my reasons, but I totally get that I'm not at all in the mainstream with that stance.
I'm just gonna quickly piggyback on what you're saying about the first one before we hear Ben's thoughts on the fourth one. But the first one, it took me 3 days to watch it. I watched John's dog get brutally murdered, and I was like, okay, I need to take a break from this. Granted, when I read the description saying that everything John loves is taken from him, I thought his dog got kidnapped.
Yep.
And so
That's
then I
fair.
see his dog get, killed maliciously, and I need to take a step back. Granted, I went back into the movie a few days later. I watched the last hour and 15 minutes of it. It was fucking awesome. And then the rest of I mean, we'll talk about 2, 3, and 4, and mostly 4, but they get better and better and better and better and better as it goes on.
Yeah.
So Ben,
I'll
chapter
piggyback on that. Just regarding the first film, I honestly think that's one of the best things that the first film does that it can't achieve in any of the others, through no fault of its own. But I think it's pretty ingenious to kill a dog to make you sympathize with them. If you have a character,
Fair.
you have to flesh it out, to actually have you sympathize with it,
I get what you
to make it feel impactful when you kill them. However, people love dogs, and it also represents, his recently dead wife and everything. It's so jam-packed of emotion that when they kill it, you're just rooting for John Wick all the time.
Yeah.
Like, just actively rooting for him to kill these guys to defend himself. But the first film, I think, is the only one where you're rooting for him really to just murder all these people because they killed the dog.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, there's really personal stakes in the first one.
It is
Yeah.
Everything else is John Wick. Like 2, 3, and 4 is John Wick defending himself,
Yeah.
but the first one is John Wick, fighting
vengeance. The rest are the
vengeance.
repercussions of them doing it.
Let me also just be clear, just make sure it's known. All of my problems with John Wick 1 have nothing to do with it being about him avenging his dog. That I'm like
I
totally.
wasn't, yeah, I
Oh
wasn't.
no, that's fine. I wasn't assuming that you were a heartless monster.
Thank you,
I
Max.
think we can give you that one. We give you a hard time on the podcast, but we can give you that one. I don't think anybody was rooting for a dog to get murdered.
That is a movie trope though, that they use in TV as well. I forget what it's called. It's like Save the Cat or something.
Yes.
Save the
when,
Cat.
When a female character is killed off to advance a male character's arc, it's called fridging.
This is
Oh, are
different.
you in film school?
George is in film school.
This is not a character development.
Fridging in film school because I'm not supposed to do it.
You do that to differentiate the bad and the good guys, specifically when you have
Deadpool 2.
Huh?
That's Deadpool 2 is fridging.
Oh.
Oh yeah, a little bit, kind of.
A
Well,
little bit. That's the whole premise of the movie.
I'm thinking about the ending of Deadpool 2.
All right. Regardless of what fridging is, save the cat or whatever, and its counterpart, kill the cat, is to differentiate people who are bad from good when it's sort of morally ambiguous. It works
Yeah.
well here.
But they're also
You know,
Russian,
the
so we can
outlaws
assume that they're
really-
bad.
But yeah, but it's
True.
it's to start off the movie franchise. It sets the tone.
Sure. Yep.
Now regarding 4, yeah, I think it's probably the best of the bunch. It takes a bunch of the first 3 movies, some of the best action scenes, develops them further, just adds more to them. And regarding the story, yeah, like I enjoy some parts of the first one. But the second and third one, they're fun, but there's a lot of world building, less story for John as a character. And I think 4 really does a good job showing his humanity again. Like in the first one, you sort of get some of that, but in the fourth one, you have a proper end to his arc. He's not just this invincible killing machine. He just wants to have his peace. And they make a big point is, he has to have a good death, make it worth it. And he ends up saving Kane, essentially, and allowing him to live, and with his daughter and stuff.
And if I may read your Letterboxd review to enter that into the record.
Yep.
And I want to make sure I get this right, so bear with me. Yes, 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 yes. John, shoot those guys. 5 stars.
There
And
you go. I mean, what's more to say?
Nothing.
that
You don't need to
really,
say anything else.
I mean, the action makes this series. I think everything else elevates it a little bit, but they're all like their action is what sells the series.
It's
Mhm,
so good.
mhm,
The biggest thing about it is it's all practical.
Mhm.
Keanu does most of the stunts. In fact, a lot of the scenes they're shot in a way that you can tell that it's Keanu. They,
mhm,
Like,
focus in on the face. There's not a lot of editing, and a lot of editing, action movies, where they use a bunch of stunt guys.
mhm.
You have a lot of editing, specifically to mask the face, specifically to mask, like if somebody messes up something.
And the fact that he has long hair is like perfect. It would be perfect fodder for like, having the stunt man wear a wig and like having it constantly go in front of
yeah.
his face.
Yeah, and he does use some stunt guys, like famously in this scene, the stairwell scene.
Sure.
Yes, somebody, not Keanu, obviously, did actually roll down all of those stairs.
Oh my gosh.
you guys
Um,
ever
Multiple
been
times.
up or down
Multiple
those
times.
stairs?
Huh?
You guys been to Paris and been on those stairs?
No,
Uh,
I
I have.
They
I got to tell you something. I still have slight flashbacks to a time a couple months ago when I walked up the Bunker Hill Monument in Boston, which is 194 stairs. So when they specified that it was like 222 stairs, I was like, oh, yeah. Like I felt that. Like,
Yeah, because you did fewer stairs.
Mhm.
That guy
Wow.
actually may have been the same guy getting hit by the cars for Keanu too, because
Mm.
Keanu did that part. But they did actually, as I said, everything is practical.
The one thing I do have to
Yeah, hit
criticize
by
about
those
the
cars,
action, though, is that I don't blame them. But if the one like pedantic thing I'll say is I wish they could somehow use like real squibs rather than the CGI blood. It's like I get it, you have to like with the amount of people they kill, but there is a part of me that wishes that could have been real.
Yeah, I think the use of some computer generated blood mostly. I mean,
I mean, they did use
obviously,
real
obviously
blood in
Keanu
some
had to
scenes.
wear like a green screen sleeve over his finger
Mm.
for the entire movie
Yeah,
because he
spoiler alert, he
chopped it
did
off.
not actually cut off his finger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, his finger is very much alive and well and attached to his body. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can't do a movie of this scale with no special effects.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's
When I say
impossible.
everything's practical, I don't mean that everything
No,
is.
I get what
Yeah,
you're saying.
Mm.
But it's
It's,
still
No,
it's
no,
a
no,
plus.
yeah, yeah.
uh,
I was just giving my pedantic criticism
no,
of
No,
the
but it's
action.
valid. It's
absolutely
valid.
right.
They just have to.
I
It's like
think the
it's
film would lose something if we were seeing, and we wouldn't see it because they would edit around it,
So the main
but
thing that you lose when you have to
using
deal with
the little blood packs and fake capsules and all that shit, I
Mhm.
think that would take away from the movie
yeah,
rather than seeing gigantic blood spurts
Mm.
as we get through much of this film.
but
Sure.
the big thing with that is it's really impossible to do, not
Yeah.
just because of the amount of people. Like in horror movies, you can get away with doing that for any number of people. They do them in zombie movies all the time. But that's because all you're doing is, walking and then just getting shot or something. In John Wick, you're doing is very, complex choreographed stuff. So if you have to worry about a blood packet, it's just a
Mm.
nightmare. And one guy messes up, and then all of a sudden you have to do the entire take again.
And
It's just not
good
worth
about
it.
these
Mhm,
films,
mhm.
especially like the Arc de Triomphe sequence
Oh,
in this film, which is
awesome.
just, I mean,
Oh,
choosing to set this film in like the third act of this film in Paris, fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
it's so good.
So there are so many opportunities for great sequences, but in a scene like the staircase or the Arc de Triomphe, you don't have countless extras. You have a certain number of hired extras, and as the camera moves past their dead bodies, These guys are getting up and they're running in as the next faceless, bad guy to get killed by John. You're not, it's not one and done for these guys. They are constantly moving until they get shot.
Yeah.
They get hit a lot. So yeah.
It's just so complex.
You want to minimize the takes.
Mhm.
And it's not that they just do like one really long fight scene in like the middle of the movie. It's the entire movie.
Yeah.
This is the movie. And
The entire movie is one long fight scene. Like even in the Osaka Continental, like that was, I don't know, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, maybe longer. I don't even know. But that's a long time for not that many people.
Well, to be fair, that's like the endurance thing is not an issue because they do cut. Like they have plenty of time to rest.
Well, yeah, but it's like, yeah, but still, like that's
They're not literally like,
No.
in the scene and then like running up and like getting back into the camera.
No, the Arc de Triomphe scene was a better example, but I'm just saying that like the Osaka Continental was like 20-25 minutes of the movie.
And let's talk about the Osaka Continental right here for two reasons. One is I want to talk about Akira with the post-credit scene, and the other is what we get from Hiroyuki Sanada as Koji, I think his name was, and obviously the great Donnie Yen as Kane.
Goat.
The two of them. First of all, is Donnie Yen ever going to appear in a big franchise where he's not playing someone who's blind?
Yeah. I
But
couldn't stop thinking.
The first 5 minutes he was there, I was distracted by, oh my god, it's Jared from Rogue One.
I kept thinking about my favorite line from Rogue One, which is like, "Are you kidding me? I'm literally blind." Like I kept thinking about that.
Ironically, I think that this is a nod, even though I'm pretty sure he's Chinese in this. I mean, Donnie Yen is Chinese, but it's a nod to Zatoichi, the Japanese movie character. He's blind. He has a similar cane sword, which he uses. It's very similar, and even the way that he kills people with his sword, just poking them, is very much the same.
Awesome.
So I think that's what it's
So
supposed to be. But also, yeah, I mean, I guess Ip Man is a Chinese, big blockbuster, but it's a big blockbuster. He's not blind.
So anyway, their fight between Koji and Kane. First of all, after seeing Hiroyuki Sanada across his, illustrious career, I said the great Donnie Yen. I also mean the elite Hiroyuki Sanada. But seeing him even in more recent movies, like his one scene in Avengers Endgame or Bullet Train.
He's always getting killed, man. He's always losing in the samurai.
With swords.
What we see, like, we know he's a fucking badass and he's gonna hold his own in a fight.
Yeah.
Donnie Yen, obviously, we know can hold his own in a fight. I wanted their fight to be the entire movie. Because we've got two elite actors, two elite fighters.
I really enjoyed what they did. I enjoyed what they did a lot with both the Wick fight and Koji and Kane. It's a very like Japanese style for fighting. Or even like there's some in like Hero. I watched Hero recently. They have this one scene where Donnie Yen and Jet Li fight, and they fight in their minds. So you sort of see it like their, I don't know, projections or whatever. So they will be fighting on the screen.
Like Black Mirror.
Sort of.
So they don't end up fucking at the end.
No, not like that. But at the end, they finally fight each other, and it's just one stroke. It's very similar to Zatoichi too, and samurai films. It's a lot of talking, a lot about the philosophy and why you're fighting. It was very much, a nod to like a Kurosawa film or something. But they talk about their philosophies, why they're fighting, the debts that they have. It's probably one of the best things they've done in the franchise. And that's why it's good that the fight doesn't last too long, because it's inauthentic. You know, Kane's job is to kill him as fast as possible. First, he tries to wound him, and then he fatally kills him because he doesn't want him to suffer. He just wants him, you know, out of his way. But he really doesn't want to kill him. But if he has to, he will do it as fast as possible. And similarly, you know, at the end,
I think I might have just stepped on what you were going to say, but
well,
that's what we get with the Marquis in the coup de grace at the end of the duel. And
you can tell by the way, like John says something before, and you can tell that it means something to Kane, and he knows what's going to happen. So he doesn't, you know, he could probably kill him there. He shoots him non-fatally.
He does kill him there.
He shoots him in the chest, but like
he doesn't shoot him in the face.
Yeah,
right.
He doesn't like, yeah.
It's a delayed killing.
Delayed death.
But yeah,
I think he also knows, like in that moment, like John wants to die. He wants to be with his wife again. He's tired of fighting. He did this to, you know, to get out,
but like throw him a bone, let him go out somewhat on his own terms, and like sort of end
It's not just on his own terms. He kills the Marquis for Kane. That's why he's saying, like, you owe me.
Yeah.
Because he does it knowing he knows the system of them giving his name. He mentions it when they first meet. So he understands their arrangement that they'll kill his daughter if he doesn't kill whoever they tell him to. So by doing that, he releases him.
And can we just talk about Ian McShane as Winston in that scene? I mean, we could talk about him throughout the entire series and how his allegiance goes from the table to John Wick through the series. But in that duel, where the Marquis demands the coup de grace and wants to take the final shot that kills John Wick, and Winston just goes, "You arrogant asshole. He didn't shoot yet." And then John just goes,
"Consequences."
It's the most, and there are a lot of cathartic deaths in this franchise. That might take the cake.
That was a good one.
Just being the most satisfying kill when John Wick probably has north of 1,000 in these 4 films.
It's a large number.
It's just.
Also, how good is Mr. Krabs as the
I know, Clancy
Brown.
He's always like,
hey, John Wick, boy.
Like it's weird to say, but I feel like this is like one of he's a great actor, but I feel like this is one of his best performances in a while. That's weird to say because I feel like he's generally good, but I feel like he was just such like a great presence in like.
I mean, he's only in like.
It's not even supporting. It's like he's gonna have a featured. It's bigger than a cameo.
It's a guest role.
Yeah, that's a valid. Yeah, I love like when he's like at the very end when it's like, due to the old laws, all John Wick is now released, as well, due to Kane, you are free to go. It's just like, oh, I can't believe.
And remember, it's better to burn out than fade away.
Though I must say, we do since we're talking about the ending, can I tell you something? Like, it's probably good that John died because by like the 12th film they would have had to like come up with the most like obscure like bureaucracy imaginable that somehow the table could control. Like I'm just like imagining like a scene where Ian McShane is like
John Wick is a member of PETA.
Or it's like the table has their own IRS and it's like John Wick hasn't been paying his taxes and like Ian McShane saying something like, you see, Jonathan, there's only 2 things that are inevitable: death, and then like someone like clocks a shotgun and taxes. And then, like, 8,000 people suddenly swarm into a room and start shooting at John to get him to pay tax. Like, that would be John Wick. That would be John Wick 12, is like what I'm saying. So it's probably good that John died.
I think you got your pitch ready for Chad Stahelski.
Yeah. I got one of the things that I felt John Wick 2 did that was better than the first one was I enjoyed the world building of the first one, and so I like that the second one embraced it, and that continued with this film. Though the one question that I did have by the end of the film, like about the world itself, is what do people do all day besides hunt down John Wick? Like it seems like who are they assassinating besides John Wick?
Literally no one. Declan, his bounty is like millions of dollars. What are they gonna go find those 50,000?
True. It's like I feel like it's like obviously it already exists, like the structure, but they gotta find something than just at the hand of Wick, all these assassins. They probably trained for this.
What I found a little bit unbelievable by the end of the first film and the start of the, not really the end of the first film, but mostly the start of the second film the end of the second film and the start of the third film is just how many people are, able to be contacted by the High Table. And then they just immediately turn their attention to hunting down John Wick. And yeah, it's a lot of money, but you gotta, it's a numbers game. How many people in New York City are going to be assassins?
Yeah. And there's not one single person who's like eating a sandwich and it's like, oh God, this is but I want to finish my sandwich.
To be fair, they did establish guys like Nobody who just like sit around and are like, all right,
let's talk about
the price is right. So they just wait until the number hits their spot and they're like, all right, now I'm gonna buy.
Sorry, George, before we jump into that, I have one question. Why is it that all of the films are called Chapter 2, Chapter 4, but Chapter 3 is the only one with like an actual name?
They probably they probably wrote down the line like, if you want to prepare for war,
like Parabellum
if you want to do
Latin for
prepare for war, and then they realized what it sounded like in Latin. They were like, oh my gosh, we got to make that the subtitle of it. And
I mean, fair, but like,
and then
why?
no one can think of a single good subtitle for Chapter 4.
Well, Parabellum, I mean, it sounds first and foremost like a chaotic word.
Well, sounds fucking badass.
Basically, I'm calling out Chad as a hat.
The third movie is chaos.
Yeah.
From, the countdown of an hour until John is officially excommunicado once again.
It is surprising that person who worked for the High Table, who's like the main antagonist, I forget the person's name, title, but like it's strange how that antagonist didn't appear in the fourth film at all. Like I was slightly surprised. I was really surprised at that.
Which one?
The person with like the really short hair, who like originally came to the Continental and like
wasn't that
why
like
didn't you kill John
like an
Wick?
emissary kind of a thing?
Was it
the Adjudicator?
Yeah, the adjudicator. Thank you.
Oh, the adjudicator. Well, doesn't he just works for the High Table? So
yeah. I think I was just surprised that the adjudicator didn't come back.
Well, I think they established that like they have different things. Like the Marquis serves a certain role, and they probably gave the adjudicator the role, and then he just fucking failed.
Well, okay, but the adjudicator is supposed to be impartial, right? Like the word adjudicate is meant to be impartial, and I think it sort of elicits that assumption. The Marquis eventually in Chapter 4, like they say, becomes judge, jury, and executioner. So there is the lack of that because the Marquis has taken up the role of adjudicator as well, but has made it into an impartial position.
I always seen the adjudicator was just like the this enforcer of the table's will or whatever.
Yeah, but like everything that they did was sort of done in a way that was supposed to be fair, right? You think of how Lawrence
But yeah, they
Fishburne
have all these
was,
rules for
yeah,
the table.
it was done in a way that was like, yeah, you gave him a gun with 7 bullets, we're gonna cut you 7 times. Like that kind of a thing. It's like it's very eye for an eye, it's very by the book, and that's what the adjudicator's role is, I think.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you bring up Lawrence Fishburne, the Bowery King. He's barely in chapter 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that kind of makes sense. He
It
made
makes
a lot
sense
more
because
sense.
one, you're going to elevate Winston in his supporting nature in the film. And two, you're going to have characters like Kane and Nobody who really fill in that moral gray area that the Bowery King had in chapters 2 and 3. So you're getting the essence of the Bowery King while not having him be that significant of a player. Also, Bowery King is mainly focused on this sort of underground world in New York City, and chapter
Yeah.
4 is very much a globe-trotting adventure.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna say is
You're
I
in
think
Berlin, you're in Paris.
I
It's
think
like it makes sense that he's not in the film that much because this is where the table extends, but it's not so much where his, I don't want to call it jurisdiction, but
That's
his
not
sort
the
of
wrong, that's the right word, I think.
but he's out of his element.
extends so far in New York.
Yeah.
Like when he first meets John, he like sort of knows what's going on, but he doesn't really understand the high table and that world. So he's more of a friend to John than like a relevant player in the high table. He helps him because the high table like kicked him out. And Winston, like wasn't helping him. And it also served as, like you said, it's like world building too. You build up like the underground, like homeless organized crime group. But you're also dealing with you're dealing with Osaka, so you get to see like the different continental, and then you're dealing with the Marquis, so you get to see that type of that side of the high table. You have the Harbinger and Kane, so you're dealing with a lot of like different aspects that flesh out the world. So I feel like it's already 2 hours and 40 minutes. Any more of like Lawrence Fishburne would probably be unnatural, even if I like him. I think they used him a good amount. Like I enjoyed that he was there, but yeah, he was in it about as much as Winston.
It was fun. It was fun when he did the Lawrence of Arabia homage.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it was. I mean, seeing him sort of as seeing him in his role next to Winston, especially, when he gives him the gun in the, it's not a sewer, but underground it is a sewer in Paris at the beginning of the third act. Winston, at least in the third film and then the start of the fourth film, he's mostly seen with Sharon, of course, the late great Lance Reddick in one of his final performances. I was not expecting him to get killed off, and yet I thought it was like the right way to build the stakes for Winston, and definitely to like push him to a side. So I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
I thought it made sense in the movie, and it was, yeah. I mean, I don't want to say it was nice to see him like killed off, but it was it felt right, that he has a proper like ending. Since they definitely did not plan. I mean, he died like way after they filmed this, so that was definitely pre-planned.
He's in the upcoming spinoff.
He's in Ballerina, as
Yeah.
are Ian McShane and Keanu
I
Reeves.
think Keanu's in it too, right? Yeah.
Keanu Reeves? Oh wow.
It's set between chapters 3
Yeah,
and 4.
it's not.
It's a movie, right? Or is it a TV?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
yeah.
There's a TV series based at the Continental
Hmm.
that's going to be a streaming exclusive for Peacock. But it's like a prequel series.
Huh.
So it's
Cool.
going to show younger versions of like Winston and Sharon. So it'll be
Sure.
new actors.
Yeah.
Nice.
But isn't
But yeah,
Ana de
Lance
Armas?
Reddick will
Yeah.
appear in Ballerina, which is coming out next summer,
Mm.
with Ana de Armas in the lead
That's gonna
role,
be sick.
and
That'd be
Angelica
awesome.
Houston's coming back too. So
Oh my God, I
Wow.
forgot she
All
was in
right.
it.
I totally I had heard about Ballerina. I did not know that they were in. I'm glad they're in it, but like, oh wow.
I don't think there'll be major players. I think it'll focus on Ana de Armas's character,
Yeah.
but you know, like we're gonna see with that new movie Ghosted that she's in with Chris Evans, and like we saw with No Time to Die and The Gray Man.
She's a
I want to see
badass.
Ana de Armas kick ass.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she's a badass.
Um,
But
so
yeah, sorry, George. I derailed us a little bit. I know you wanted to talk about Nobody.
No,
yes,
do you have to see Nobody in order to understand the character Nobody? That's the real question. No.
Yeah.
Nobody is a great movie.
It is a great movie.
Equal.
So let's talk about this bounty hunter who's just gonna wait and wait and wait for the price to go up.
Wait, isn't Nobody done by I don't think it's Chad Stahelski, but there
I
was
think he was a
another,
producer. I don't think he directed it. But don't quote me.
yeah,
on that.
he was a producer on it, but I think the other there were two stunt guys in John Wick 1. Can't remember the other guy. He's been off doing some other stuff. But I think he was the one responsible for Nobody.
Oh wow. Nice.
I don't quote me on that though, but I know that are related somehow. Oh yeah, and then they're also doing I don't know if you guys saw the previews for Sisu,
Oh
Oh
yeah, producers of
John Wick
John Wick. Yeah,
again, but in
Finnish. I don't
different
know.
time.
yeah, it's in
Poland,
Finland.
Poland, Poland, Finland.
Finland.
Yeah, in Finland.
Yeah. Um so I'm pretty excited. I mean, just to sort of oh sorry, you were talking about Nobody.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I got derailed by Declan. It's my fault.
I was saying that as a joke. Don't put that on me.
No, but I had a direct link and you brought it up.
Anyway.
just a few notes from me. He, first of all, is a good reminder of where this all started because of his relationship with his dog. We get that great moment when John kills the marquee henchman instead of killing Nobody. He has a clear shot on Nobody to just take him out. Guy's been hunting him the entire movie. He has a clear shot. He chooses to save the dog.
Oh, there we go. Save the cat, but in this case, the dog.
Yeah. I mean, I know I cheered at that moment, and half my theater did.
I mean, I knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah, everyone knew.
Yeah.
But like,
Everyone saw the dog fighting back there. Also, props to that dog actor. He was great.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like also I'm so glad that the idea of someone like following John Wick around, waiting for his price to go up, his bounty. I feel like that's like I'm glad they explored that concept because it's something that I think more people should have considered doing in the previous films.
Yeah.
Well,
previous films.
I think they also show like that while he's very skilled, he's out of his element. He doesn't know the world he's dealing with. When he goes up to the marquee and is so confident, he doesn't realize he's literally dealing with a psychopath.
When he has to cut through his hand.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That was intense.
That was real. That might be one of the
intense.
most like straight up violent, gory scenes.
Skarsgård was creepier like without the makeup than as the clown in it.
That was one of the most intense scenes with Nobody. Obviously when John saves his dog, that's pretty intense. Also the poker scene.
The poker scene was bizarrely great.
That was my favorite scene in the movie, other than the duel.
And that was some of my favorite fights.
Yeah.
With Scott Adkins is the big guy, the big
Wearing
man,
a fat suit.
wearing the fat suit. It was hilarious to see him. I mean, obviously, it's not physically possible to kick that high when you're that fat. But
And I am again annoyed at myself for finding it funny, but it was still funny when Kane's like, "Oh wow, let me see what hand I have. Oh, here we go." I did find that funny.
Blind.
I loved all the blind, like gags that they did,
Oh,
and the
the
doorbell.
doorbells?
Yeah, the doorbells were my probably some.
Oh, the door. Yeah, that was like, oh, are these bombs that he's setting?
Yeah, I thought, oh, this is like Semtex or something. No, it's just doorbell. What? I mean, only a stunt guy, and this is what I was going to say earlier. I think the John Wick films, specifically their action, is so good. Normally, you have like a stunt choreographer or someone that directs the action sequences. But when you have a stunt guy and someone that has done that for a living, as the full director, you can really write and envision scenes like this. It completely expands the possibilities because you know what's possible. So, I mean, props to Chad. I told George this. He is Keanu Reeves' old stunt guy. He did a lot of stunts in The Matrix, the ones that could not do. So he understands this world, and that's probably why, like, it's so tight with the action. I mean, I think you can only pull this off if you really understand what is involved in making these scenes. And certainly getting the talent to do that. Plenty of talented martial artists, like Scott Adkins, Donnie Yen, that know what to do. You don't have to worry about them making mistakes because they're absolute pros.
Yeah, I think, I noted to myself for this episode when I was watching the movie, how do you build, because Parabellum has, or until I saw chapter 4, I thought, that was the best action we had seen in this series. And then, you get nunchucks in the first 20 minutes. And of course, Keanu's a fucking badass with nunchucks.
Obviously. He actually those, the thing for The Matrix.
And it's just, when you think that it can't go any higher and can't get any better, it does. And then the movie ends with two guys using dueling pistols. And it's just, dare I say, poetic. In the arc of these 4 chapters, like Max said, over about 2 weeks, it really, the films do feel like chapters. It's not like John Wick Part 1, John Wick Part 2.
It's all the same story. It's just sort of
all the same story.
I was reminded in some ways of like an ongoing comic book series to an extent, where it's like, oh man, as you keep reading it, like the world keeps expanding and expanding. I enjoyed that aspect.
Honestly, you know what it's like? It's like a limited TV series, right? Because you think about the first 3 movies, they're all like an hour 50, something like that. Around that. None of them are super long. I think maybe Parabellum is the
they get
longest
longer
of the 3.
as it goes on.
Yeah.
Like 140, 202, and then 210.
Yeah, but like, I mean, you think about it, that's not out of the realm of it being a little bit longer limited television series. Like Sherlock was an hour and like 10 minutes each episode or something like that, would do like 3 or 4 episodes a season. That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
I don't think it really matters, but that's just like what I was thinking about.
Yeah, it's more one story, and movies actually make more sense once you've seen all 4 of them. Because 2 and 3 are definitely, a lot lighter on the like personality of like John Wick and like what makes him tick and stuff. It's a lot more about survival. So it's a lot of the action and stuff. But you get nice like beginnings in the first one, what sets him on this path. And then you learn his backstory. And then the 4th one is a very nice conclusion. You sort of come back and meet
consequences.
And consequences.
The one thing I will say about the 4th one, in that I was reminded of it, Keanu Reeves is a fantastic human being and like amazing stunt performer and has real charisma and screen presence. I do feel like his chops as an actual actor isn't
Not the best actor.
I would never recast him. But
he's
no
an
one's ever
interesting
accused
thing.
Keanu Reeves of being a good actor. That's not what he's doing here, though. It's just Keanu Reeves being John Wick, and John Wick is a character who doesn't need to have a good actor behind him. He just needs to kick ass.
I'll defend his acting though.
Okay.
I know that like he doesn't have very much variety, but for these roles, he's actually perfect for roles like John Wick, for guys like Neo.
He's better as John Wick than he is as Neo.
Yeah.
And it's not particularly close.
He's honestly, I think that they're very similar. John Wick and Neo are both like, first of all, we'll deal with Neo because you seem to not like him as that. But he's supposed to be literally half his code and DNA is a machine. So him being unemotional and having these like weird like reactions completely makes sense to me because he's literally half a machine. And in John Wick, similarly, like he's really good at killing people, but he doesn't really get people. He's not really great at like talking. He knows what to say, but there's a great scene in it where afterwards, they're thinking about like things to put on their tombstone. And Lawrence Fishburne, sort of jokes, like, "Oh, I had mine a long time ago, long live the king." And Keanu Reeves, John Wick, steps out of the boat, looks at them completely seriously. It's like loving husband.
That is the moment when I knew he was going to die.
But at least it makes sense, right? Because that's what's on his wife's tombstone. So
yeah, but
also out of the
blue. I mean, I feel like that's a perfect delivery. This is a man who's literally dead inside. He's running on fumes. So his
okay.
like perspective, the way that he acts makes a lot of sense.
I see your point. He's playing characters that fit his skill set as an actor.
I'm not saying he's a great actor, but the way that he plays them is actually really works the characters.
No, he's not going to win an Academy Award, even though he should win an Academy Award for this.
Yeah, he said 380 words. This isn't Anthony Hopkins. Oh yeah, regardless of whether it's award-winning, Tom Cruise has plenty of non-award-winning films.
We all know this is an award-winning film.
I feel like Tom Cruise is a better actor, but he has similar roles like that. I don't know. I think it really works well. I don't think anyone else could have played this character. No one else could have played Neo for me.
Fair enough.
That's all I'm saying.
The alternate universe where Will Smith played Neo and therefore Will Smith played John Wick. Oh God.
That's just like
they get canceled after the third one.
We can talk about the Will Smith action movie cinematic universe.
I also want to say I feel like John Wick is very personal to Keanu, and especially that line. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he's got like a really tragic backstory back in the 2000s, where I think he lost his wife, and then like his child or something. So
wait, Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Wait, what?
His personal life is.
Yeah, he's had a pretty rough.
I'll check on you, but yeah, he had a rough.
That's right.
I had no idea.
But he definitely understands like that feeling of loss, and it definitely comes out in some of the scenes of John Wick. So I think he's.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And if that's not true, then props to him for being able to convey that, right? Like it comes off as authentic. Like, and this is obviously just before we verify. And I think Ben is correct, but like on the off chance that it isn't, like props to him for being able to make it feel the way that it does, right?
The only thing I know about.
All right, I have the news here.
Ben has the answer.
David Lynch's assistant, that he was dating, she gave birth 8 months to a stillborn child, and then a year and a half later she was killed in a car crash.
Oh, okay. Shit.
Yeah.
That's dope. Okay, so it's not similar, but
yeah. So. Any last thoughts on John Wick Chapter 4?
go see it immediately. I
That's-
mean, and if you haven't seen the other
fantastic.
ones, watch them first and then
Yeah.
go see it.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those movies where you 100% need the context of the
Yes.
first three films.
yeah,
There's no reason not to watch the
Not
first
say-
three.
yeah, yeah.
Like we do a podcast. I had never seen the John Wick movies until a week and a half ago,
Same here.
and we were going to do John Wick Chapter 4, so I said I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch them. This isn't a movie where you can say, "Oh, John Wick Chapter 4 is getting great reviews. Let's go see it tonight." No, sit down, do the homework, watch the movies. One, because they're all great, no matter what Declan says, and two,
Yeah.
because you can get the full weight of Chapter 4 and what the ending of Chapter 4 means. So, John Wick Chapter 4 is currently playing in movie theaters. We'll be back next week. Declan's going to take on the hosting chair. We're going to talk about the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Hell yeah.
We got another video game adaptation coming up the week after that. We're talking D&D. 2-week tease right there.
Like a
it's not a video game.
Game.
It's not a video game.
Sorry, role-playing game. I've never played. Excuse me. Maybe you know what, Ben, you host that one. I don't care. All right. Go see John Wick Chapter 4. Go see Super Mario. Go see Dungeons and Dragons. We got a fun month coming up. So
Good month.
let's have some fun with it. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right.